All right, gang, another deep dive video, another house overview, I guess I should say, in more of a deep dive format. We're talking about the house of Perris Monte Carlo today. Are you a fan of this house? It's a sister house to Houbigant, which I already aired a video deep dive of their collection of fragrances, but I seem to have more from this house than I do of Houbigant. I've got 25 fragrances here, but honestly, there's a lot of extracts and also eau de parfums of the same fragrance, but I'm going to give you my thoughts on the entire collection that I have. As I said, I have 25 fragrances, and I discovered this house a little after I discovered Houbigant. They brought them here in San Francisco, Neiman Marcus in around 2014, I believe. Still, I was very new at doing videos on fragrances. And unfortunately, a few years ago, they dropped the brand at Neiman Marcus. So I don't understand why they dropped Perris Monte Carlo. Maybe it wasn't selling that much. If you guys have any idea, let me know. And also let me know if you are a fan of this house, what your favorite fragrances are. And I do have my favorites. At the end of the video, I'm going to tell you my favorites from the house. And I do enjoy their Extrait de Parfums quite a bit. But you know what? Let me give you a quick idea of what I really love from this house. Let's see, where am I? This is my favorite was for the longest time Rose de Taif in the Extrait de Parfum concentration. I do have the original as well. So I think my bottle is cracked. I wrote a note, be careful, on the back. At the bottom, I think it's falling apart. But Rose de Taif to me is a super jammy, juicy, intense rose fragrance that as soon as I smelled it, I was addicted to it. And I discovered it a lot. I discovered it around the time I was more into rose fragrances. I hardly do rose fragrances as of late, but I'll get back to it. But it's an awesome, awesome release. And the extract is much better to me than the eau de parfum. If you like your fragrances thick, dense, intense, check both out and see which you prefer. The eau de parfum is richer. But lately I'm addicted to the way Vanille de Tahiti smells. Once again, in the Extrait de Parfum concentration. It's so awesome, but you know what? My nose didn't pick up any of the animalic qualities. I have heard now from some folks that it is a bit on the animalic side. I guess I'm used to it. Some people that are not, I guess, are sensitive to it. For me, it's nicely blended and it's covered up enough that it doesn't really stand out to me. And I'm usually very sensitive to very intensely animalic fragrances, but that fragrance is such an awesome release. Really love it. But let's get started with the list. We're starting off with an eau de parfum version of ABSOLUE de Osmanthus. So ABSOLUE de Osmanthus, it's highlighting osmanthus. It's a flower, tiny little yellow flowers that I believe in China or in the Asian world is drank as a tea. You can buy it on Amazon. I've seen it there if you like that kind of a tea. I've smelled the flower and it has kind of two sides. And of course, they bring it out in fragrances as well. Most importantly, they bring out the apricot, peachy kind of side of the fragrance, but sometimes they also bring out the leathery side because it can kind of go leathery. And there is parts about the fragrance that, I mean, the note itself, not the fragrance, because sometimes the fragrances do smell really wonderfully, either apricot-y, peachy, but once in a while it smells a bit off like a wet dish rag. And I think that's when they're kind of trying to bring out the leathery parts of it. I'm not saying these fragrances I'm going to talk to you about today are like that, but in some fragrances I've smelled that and it's been a turn off. But here in the EDP, it's fruity, but what they've done here is they brought out the dried fruity side of the apricot. So obviously dried apricots are a delicacy. I'm really obsessed with dried apricots. I don't eat too much of them, but I can eat quite a bit because I love the flavor. I love that sweet tart flavor. And that's what they've done here. But also they've spiced it up. So I feel like that spiciness kind of tones down the uber fruitiness. This is not acting juicy whatsoever. So that's why it's giving me more of a the dried fruity side of the osmanthus flower. Let me know who's familiar with osmanthus. Add a comment below. Do you drink it as a tea? Do you enjoy the note and fragrances? I mean, I've smelled fragrances that feature osmanthus that goes super, super apricot-y and on like a very fresh apricot or peaches. More apricot than peaches, but sometimes they do bring out peaches and nectarines from it as well. And here, it's not that at all. It's absolutely not. It's more dry, and it's like a bowl of dried fruit, you know, maybe some plums mixed in, or prunes, I should say, maybe some pineapple and bananas, kind of like that. It's not smelling super fruity to me, and it's mixed in with a peppery spiciness, maybe slight smokiness as well, and under it there's woods. So that is Absolute, the Osmanth from Perris Monte Carlo. So that is the fragrance we're starting off with. But we do have its Extrait de Parfum concentration offering. So if you have experience with these two fragrances, do let me know. Add a comment below. This is a lot darker than the original. Now this is actually also fruitier. It's a bit juicier, but honestly, I do have to say these two fragrances, I don't know where I'm getting that. Both of them give me a makeup vibe in the way they're, you know, smelling. I almost feel like there's violet in here or something. And I haven't checked the notes for these two fragrances, but I'm just feeling like there's something violet-y, which tends to kind of go makeup-y for me. Could be iris as well, but because it is a bit powdery, both of them. But it's not super fruity. And but it is fruity in the sense that it's dried fruity. And for me, a fruit is much more fragrant, fresh versus dried. And of course, when it's dried and you're consuming it, eating it, it's much more flavorful when it's dried, when you're tasting it, in comparison to the freshness, I guess. But generally, because the flavor gets concentrated, so when it's dried, but still, I'm not saying that when you're eating the fruit fresh, it's not flavorful. But sometimes for me, they're a lot stronger and more potent in flavor when they're dried versus fresh. But to me, the parfum or the extract is acting a lot fruitier in comparison to the eau de parfum. A little bit juicier, but both of them give me makeup vibes, and I'm not sure why I'm getting that. Something about them. But let me know your thoughts on Absolute de Osmanth from the house of Perris Monte Carlo, whether it's the eau de parfum or the extract. Add a comment below. So we've got 5 fragrances in a collection of freshies. I think it's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 of them. We're starting off first with Arancia de Sicilia, which I recently featured in a orange fragrances a deep dive video. If you haven't caught that, please go catch it. This is fresh in the sense that concentration wise, it's light, comes off fresh, but it does get substantial when it's drying down. It becomes kind of gourmandesque. So it's sweetened up with a kind of sticky, caramelly, kind of a doughy quality, like maybe like cookie dough. But I mean, the cookie dough part is a bit light in comparison to the caramelly part, but it's super fresh and orangey. Arancia, I believe, is orange in Italian. So this collection is highlighting Italian citruses or Italian fresh fragrances, but they're all focused on citruses in the end. This is a fun fragrance though. In the end, it's still very fresh. It's sweet from the oranges. It's slightly fruit. I mean, it's slightly not fruity, but it's slightly gourmand. But I wouldn't say this is super gourmand. It's just on skin. It does go a bit sweet and gourmandesque, but still focusing on the freshness of the oranges, which is a lovely fragrance. It's smelling really great to me after smelling the Absolute Osmanthus, and it's my mind spoke fruits before I said fresh, but it brought out its fruity qualities with the fact that I smelled the Absolute Osmanthus and then went to the Arancia de Sicilia. So I feel like they could layer wonderfully together, whereas the Absolute Osmanthus would actually kind of create a fruitiness and bring out some the highlights of the the orangey citruses from the Arancia de Sicilia. I think that's definitely worth trying. But either way, this is Arancia de Sicilia from the house of Perris Monte Carlo. Let me know if you're a fan of that. And then we're going to the same collection. This is Bergamotto di Calabria. So in the world of perfumes, there's a lot of fragrances named this. No, actually, I know Acqua di Parma has a fragrance with the same name. And I believe Guerlain in the Acqua Allegoria collection also has a very similar name. I think theirs is more French. This is a bit more Italian. And basically, the bergamot that comes from Calabria is highlighted in this fragrance. So if you're a fan of bergamot, this is one for you to try. And of course, I'm going to also say I recently did a bergamot deep dive video. This was also featured in that video. Go catch it. So this is a pretty simplistic, not as substantial as the previous Arancia de Sicilia fragrance. It's bergamot for you to, wear and appreciate. And they're highlighting the star citrus fruit. And they're throwing in some lighter notes to kind of like push the fragrance with its bergamot qualities. So I feel like there's spices in here, maybe some aromatics, and also some woods, light woods. And that's pretty much it. It's a bit more simplistic to me than the Arancia de Sicilia. But in the end, they're bringing out the qualities. There might not actually also be some light flowers in here, because in the end, the bergamot has a floral, like it's a citrus that has floral qualities. So they add more flowers and it brings out its more floral side of the bergamot. So it's basically a bergamot bomb, pretty much. And, you've got traces of other things happening in there, but you're paying tribute to the bergamot. It's called Bergamotto di Calabria, so it's a bergamot fragrance. So it's not super tart, but it's also not super sweet. It's right down in the middle, and as I said, they're kind of bringing out its floral qualities, maybe with the addition of some flowers. But to me, I'm also getting quite a bit of spices, so it's quite spicy to me. And of course, I do get I feel like there's vetiver in here, some light grassy woods under there as well is what I'm getting. So that's Bergamotto di Calabria. It's quite simplistic to me. And between Bergamotto di Calabria and Arancia de Sicilia, I prefer Arancia de Sicilia. It's a bit more complex. So sometimes when brands are highlighting bergamot fragrances, they make them extremely simplistic, because bergamot is the citrus fruit that most appears in fragrances as a top note. So it's very simplistic citrus. So, the lemon goes tart, the orange goes sweet, the tangerine goes bitter, zingy. So those kind of do have some substance to them. Bergamot seems a bit flat. So if they add other notes and, intensify the other notes, basically the bergamot's going to take a back seat. So how do you highlight it? You don't push a lot of other notes with it. So they're, that's why it comes off simplistic, because to me, the bergamot is a simplistic note. And of course, that's why it's used in the top notes. So when they need a citrus, it's probably the first citrus that they turn to add at the top, to add that layer of freshness. So that's why sometimes bergamot to me does seem a bit simplistic. And in that fragrance, it's quite simplistic. But let's move on to the next fragrance. It's Bois de Oud. So unfortunately, from this collection, I only have two fragrances, Musk Extreme and Bois de Oud. The one I wish I had to talk to you guys about is called Ambre Gris. I never got that one. I do want it eventually. Somewhere along the way, I'll get it. But big fan of Ambre Gris. But I don't think, from what I remember smelling, it didn't smell too animalic. And speaking of Ambre Gris, I am testing out the new amber from Goldfield and Banks. Really loving it. I will report on that very soon if it hasn't already been reported on. But I've been wearing that fragrance during the shoot of, while I'm shooting this video. And I'm actually really, really digging it. I think they did a really great job. It's probably become my second favorite from the house of Goldfield and Banks. But more on that later. If it's aired, go search for the review and watch it. But let's talk about Bois de Oud, which is Oud and Bois, which is woods. This one's quite a dark fragrance, juice-wise. So this to me does act a bit like red tobacco from Mancera, which to me, red tobacco kind of smells like Carlisle. And then there's also that Tiziano Terenzi fragrance. I believe this is the one that came first before those fragrances came. It's also not necessarily truly identical, whereas the other three do have major similarities between them. This one might be the most distant, but it's a very super potent, spicy, kind of a sticky, ambery, oudy, woody fragrance. The oud in here, most likely a Western oud. It's not acting like the oud of the Middle East or where the true oud comes from. So this is a westernized oud. It's an easier oudy note, but I'm not saying it's like everyday notes that you would wear. They've still kind of given it a little bit of a funk in here. But it's acting a bit tobacco-ish. It's also acting quite a bit sticky. Like there's a resinous, ambery, honeyed stickiness, but not super sweet. I'm not saying this is super sweet, even though you've got that honeyed stickiness happening. So it's sweet, but it's not super sweet, I wouldn't say. But it is pretty rough. It's got this greasy kind of almost gasoline-like effect happening in here. And also smoke. There's a major smokiness in this as well. But I think it's a pretty potent take on wood and oud. So woods and oud. And of course, giving you a reminder of things like red tobacco, Carlisle, and drawing a blank with the name of the Tiziano Terenzi fragrance that reminds me of those two fragrances. So it reminds me of those. But to me, this is the most distant from reminding me of those, but still it reminds me of it. Let me know if you're familiar with Bois de Oud from Perris Monte Carlo. I wish I had ambergris. I don't. It would have been the third fragrance. But look at how dark this got. So I know they have like resins in there. That's what's kind of coloring that. It's quite intense. It's a potent fragrance. Anyway, that is Bois de Oud. Let's move on to a fragrance that I've actually reviewed on the channel, but in the eau de parfum version. I have to pause. Apologies for that. I do get some interruptions here, deliveries and so forth. This video is being shot during the day. So where was I? Okay, I think I was talking about the next fragrance. This is a fragrance I did review on the channel, and it was actually a fragrance that I was excited about because the word cacao is in the name, but also because it features a flower in this fragrance that I had never seen come up in a fragrance before. It features the Pittosporum flower, and not that it's highlighted, but it's there. It's a gorgeous flower that we have a lot of here, and it blooms like 2 or 3 times a year, which is kind of interesting. And every time it's bloomed and you're walking at night, not during the day, at night when it's cooler, and you could smell this fragrance of this flower, it's amazing. So Cacao Aztec has Pittosporum listed as a note. It's called cacao, but it's not a gourmand. You are using cacao before it's processed to be cacao. So it's the beans, I believe, is what's being used. And I'm not 100% sure of the technicalities of exactly what they're using, but the fact that the word cacao is in here, don't expect a gourmand. To me, it's basically a very spicy floral note, and it's enjoyable. But if you're thinking you're going to get something kind of chocolatey cacao, you're not going to get that. In fact, I just sprayed it and I'm getting a lot of black pepper. So there's major peppery spiciness here. Ooh, it's very spicy. But behind that spice, you do notice flowers. There's flowers in there and woods and maybe some slight greenness, but the peppery spiciness is quite prominent. In fact, to me, in California, we have a lot of Sheena smole trees. It's basically the pink peppercorn. And to me, it's kind of like a cross between the Pittosporum flower and the Sheena smole. So it's like if you ever walk under the Sheena smole tree, which is, like I said, it's basically a California peppercorn. I think it's a California peppercorn. Don't quote me on that. But it is Sheena smole. And you can smell the pepperiness and kind of almost makes you sneeze. And it's kind of happening here with this fragrance. So there's two versions of it. As it's also settling here, it is getting, a lot more floral. I think the pepperiness is kind of fizzling away. And I feel like some stemminess is popping up as well. And how they use that cacao in here, it is unprocessed. So it's probably right off the tree, which most likely doesn't smell like cacao when it's on the tree. It has to go through its process to kind of smell like cacao. So I think a lot of people might go to this fragrance thinking, it's a cacao fragrance, I'm going to wear it, it's a gourmand kind of thing. It's not that at all. And some people that are going to probably say, it is cacao, I don't want to smell it because I don't like gourmands or chocolatey things. They smell it and they're like, whoa, I was so wrong with that. I actually really love this. It's kind of floral, it's kind of green. It's very, very spicy and a bit woody as well. That's what I get with this. So that is Cacao Aztec in the Eau de Parfum concentration. Okay, here we go without any kind of focus. So yeah, we have the Extrait de Parfum as well, but go catch my full review of that fragrance. It is quite older. I think it's probably shot in 2017. You can learn a little bit more about that fragrance, but I did not talk about the Eau de Parfum, Extrait de Parfum version of it, which is right here. So I don't know why my camera focuses sometimes and sometimes it doesn't, which is strange. It's the same camera I use. It's an iPhone 16 Pro Max. It's very strange. So on the other hand, with the Extrait de Parfum of Cacao Aztec, I feel like they have a bit more of creamy florals in here and maybe some creamy sandalwood. It smells like the EDP. It is a lot more concentrated. The other thing I should say about this, there's a slight vegetal or vegetation type of smell with this. And so you do get that a little bit, but it's a lot more green here in the extrait than it is with the Eau de Parfum. The pepper is not as pronounced here as it is with there. It's still peppery, quite peppery. And also, like I said, creamy floral. But the way this fragrance is, I wouldn't say it's a bomb of a flower. I think Vanille de Tahiti Extrait is much more of a floral bomb, even though there's a lot of vanilla in there. This, to me, I feel like the pepperiness kind of tones it down, the floral qualities. It's almost like, even though I keep saying black pepper or pink pepper, it acts a little bit like green bell pepper. But lots of spices, floral notes, and there's a creaminess here that I did not get with the Eau de Parfum. So that's Cacao Aztec, both in the extract and also the Eau de Parfum. And I'm sorry my camera is not focusing. I got to figure that out before I shoot another video. But the next fragrance I'm talking about is Cedro de Diamante. So remember I said these fragrances are highlighting Italian citruses. So Cedro, I'm assuming, is citrus, diamond citrus. Those of you that speak Italian, let me know. This is a lemony citrus focused fragrance. Whoa, what the heck happened here? All right. Lemony. There's a major lemony quality about it, but as I read the name, you get the experience of something cold, diamond. But it's tart, much more tart than the Bergamotto di Calabria. This is also a little better to me because I'm a big lover of lemons. But it's not super tart. There's a sweetness there. And of course, it's spicy and cold and aromatic. So acting very, very cold and aromatic. And of course, there's some light woods under there as well. But to me, this is paying tribute to something very lemony, citrusy, juicy. The word juicy is definitely prominent. It must be mentioned with this because it's acting quite juicy. And I grew up with lemons. I absolutely love lemons. It's my favorite citrus. Even though I don't sit around and eat lemons, I use them in my salads because I love the flavor. And they're good for you too. You need a little bit of lemon every once in a while. And I actually really love the flavor. This is also acting a little bit like a limoncello. Not as sweet as a limoncello. I personally do not like limoncello. I don't know why. I've had some that I really like, but the most of the ones I have, it's not my favorite liqueur to drink. And I love lemons, so it's weird. But this is acting a little bit like limoncello, which, if you're familiar with limoncello and you like the idea of wearing something that smells like limoncello, you can totally wear Cedro de Diamante. So really great. So we have Arancia de Sicilia. That's my favorite so far in these citrus fragrances, followed by Cedro de Diamante. But they're kind of tied. I do prefer the Arancia just a little more because it is a bit more substantial with the whole gourmandy thing. And then, of course, the Bergamotto de Calabria is the last in the three so far. We do have two more. We have the Mandarino de Sicilia, and then we also have the Neroli Mediterraneo. So we'll get to those in a little bit. But next, we're going to a collection of fragrances that are created by Jean-Claude Ellena for this brand. And my bottle has really gotten gross. What the heck? It's in a box. But look at this. Ooh. Weird. I got to clean that up. So weird. So Jasmin de Paix. So these are, I think, honestly, I have to be honest. These fragrances that Jean-Claude Ellena created for Perris Monte Carlo are, for me, very boring. I don't know why. I don't click with them, especially, we'll get to them, but they're done in the style of Jean-Claude Ellena, and I like his fragrances, but I'm not clicking with these fragrances. There's a few that I enjoy, but some of them, oh, this juice is also kind of dark, as you can see. That's why we have that darkness. I think the Jasmin, if you like an indolic Jasmin, you're going to like this one because it's paying tribute to that kind of, wow, it's pretty indolic. I mean, it smells realistic, but it's also very simplistic to me. You know, I was kind of underwhelmed with these when I initially got these, but I think the Jasmin is quite nice. I think it's the lavender or the mimosa that I don't care for. Actually, I know for sure the Rose de Mai, because I really love the Rose de Taif. This is just disappointing, but each one of these I'll talk to you guys about. This to me does smell very realistic in the Jasmin, but also it's realistic but also simplistic as a smell. Mostly you're smelling a lot of Jasmin, and it smells like the Jasmin off the bush pretty much. If you get close to it, you take a whiff of it, smell it, it smells just like that. So this is a really true, slightly indolic take on Jasmin. On skin, it will kind of appear more as indolic, maybe a little bit poopy, because it does happen like that with the Jasmin. But this smells realistic. So this is probably not the one that I do not like. It's been a while since I've tested these. But if you're looking for something that's really like the real smell of Jasmin, this one does satisfy. And I think the reason why this has gotten discolored like that, it's so gross, is because, you know, you can see the color. So weird. But so good. It smells good. It really does smell good. All right. So we've got the Lavande Romaine next. Lavande Romaine. This one doesn't look like it's gotten discolored. What is shaking in this box? Weird. Okay, let's try Lavande Romaine. These white bottles are, I believe, all created by Jean-Claude Ellena. Yeah, this is the one I don't like. I was recently in the south of France, and I went to a farm, a lavender, and I learned all about the difference between lavandine, lavender, diva lavender. There was a bunch of other varieties. If you're really curious about lavender and learn the different varieties, because if you are a fan of fougere fragrances, the key ingredient most of the time is lavender. So it's great to learn about the different varieties and how it's all done. I have a video on the channel you can go search. Just type in lavender, it should come up. This to me, it smells more like lavandin. But not really. There's something in here that's really rubbing me the wrong way. I'm so used to lavender, and I buy a lot of lavender oil. In fact, I brought a bunch back with me after I, my trip, went to a store and bought it in Nice. This is a really strange smelling lavender. It's like, I'm so used to the smell of the oil. This smells like something's different added to it, and it's not just lavender. I'm smelling a lot of other things. And whereas the jasmine smelled like really true, authentic jasmine, this lavender is not my favorite kind of lavender. In fact, it rubs me the wrong way so much I don't want to wear it. Let me know if you guys are familiar with this one. This is Lavande Romaine. And again, this collection is created by Jean-Claude Ellena, I believe. So the next fragrance we're going to talk about, is that a clean one? No, it's not a clean one. Mandarino de Sicilia. I do enjoy this one. And I do enjoy mandarin orange fragrances. And in fact, in the video with oranges, there was mandarin orange featured as well. In fact, if I ever want to drink orange juice, I kind of opt for mandarin orange juice. It just tastes a little better. I think the orange by itself is a bit boring compared to the mandarin orange, so I want a little bit of more excitement when I'm drinking mandarin orange juice. Not that you can get it every day, but still. But this is a really wonderful example of mandarin orange. It's super yummy, and it's got, you know how mandarin orange has that slight tart bitterness? They've captured it here. Even in the end, it's like orange pretty much, but there's a difference about it that you can actually identify the smell between mandarin orange and also regular orange or just orange. So they've captured it here, so it's added a slight bitterness with the mostly sweet kind of juiciness. So I think they've put in something in from the skin of the mandarin orange that's in here that's giving us that really wonderful smell. It is still on the simplistic side. For me, I think the most complex so far in this citrus collection is Arancia de Sicilia, because it acts so differently. It gets warmed up on skin, whereas the rest of them are quite fresh and citrusy. But still, I believe the Mandarino is quite yummy. Still, the Bergamot is at the bottom, but I might have a difficult time deciding, do I go for the Cedro, the Diamante second, or do I go with the Mandarino? I think I'm going to go with the Cedro, the Diamante as number 2 so far. The Mandarino number 3, the Bergamotto number 4. So we still have one more in that collection. We'll get to it in a little bit. But let's move on to one more fragrance from Perris Monte Carlo. It's called Mimosa Tanneron. To me, so far, between the two, Jasmin and also the Lavande, I don't care for the Lavande at all. I think that was the one, from what I remember. When I first spoke about these a long time ago, I didn't care for the Lavande at all. Let's try the Mimosa. Who is a fan of Mimosa? This one does smell better. So it is a lot of Mimosa here. It's very powdery. Mimosa is a very powdery. And under there's a slight almondy nuttiness as well. To me, Mimosa flower and heliotrope flower do smell almondy, but I get less almonds from Mimosa compared to heliotrope, but still both of them do go almondy. And to me, the almonds in Mimosa are more like almond powder versus in the other flower, it's a bit more like raw almonds. So this is it's got a very spring smell. It's slightly sweet and honeyed and very powdery and a little green as well. I think the idea of Mimosa, there's also the flower, what's it called? Linden blossom. These two flowers, and maybe even lilac, they all have a slight almondiness. And they're all blooming in the springtime. But still, very powdery. It's got a slight coolness about it, and then also slight honeyed effect as well with the almondiness, and of course a bit of greenness running around it. I think it's a nice fragrance. It's much better than the Lavande. The Lavande is a disappointment for me. Anyway, that's Mimosa Tanneron. All right, next up, it's Musk Extreme. For a while, I was truly obsessed with wearing this fragrance. Really love it. This collection, I think, is a really great collection from this house, and I wish I had the ambergris, which was also in this collection. In the end, it's a potent take on musk, and I think it's the baby powder kind with a slight funk thrown in under there, not super strong. But to me, I get a lot of the baby powdery kind of white musk with a slight funk, as I said, lightly throwing in something animalic, which on my skin doesn't appear too much, but I've heard from some comments this does get a bit animalic on some people. So, but to me, it's super sexy. And again, I was really, really obsessed with wearing this one. I like its potency, and I like that it gets a little dirty, but not too much. And it's all very, very, baby powdery as well. Really nicely done, I think, Musk Extreme. Definitely one of the best from this house. And, I'm a lover of musks. I really, really love wearing musks. Do you guys like musks? Do you like the white musks? Do you like the animalic musks? Like the deer musk type musks? Or does it matter? Because, musks can be powdery, clean, baby powdery, as I said. And, of course, animalic and authentic smelling that make the fragrances smell authentic. But we've had Filthy Musk from Born to Stand Out in our kit number 15. And if you haven't gotten that kit, we have some in stock. But that musk is more animalic. And even though they've sweetened it up quite a bit, I think it covers it up. But still, there's a funk there. And in fact, they also use a note called scatol in there, which gives you a lot of animalic qualities. So if you're sensitive to animalics, that fragrance might not be it for you. But again, as I said, I like animalics to an extent. I don't want to overdose in animalics. And that, to me, I can tolerate, but some people might not be able to tolerate. Here, it's very clean and baby powdery, as I said, but there is a slight, light funk under there. Anyway, that's Musk Extreme from the house of Perris Monte Carlo. Let me know if you're a fan of it. And then we've got Neroli Mediterraneo. So this is the last of the fresh fragrances. And I believe this one came out the last. This collection, I think, was launched with the Bergamotto, the Cedro, and the Mandarino. Whoops. And then they launched the Arancia, and then they launched the Neroli. So the Neroli is the newest, and the Neroli is really nicely done. It's super fresh. It's also a little bit green. The greenness is from the bitter, the leaves of the petitgrain, the orange, bitter orange tree, which is petitgrain. But it's a beautiful combination. It does act a little bit like 4711 Cologne or maybe Neroli Portofino, but more substantial and also very, very beautiful. It smells super, super awesome. So I really like the way this smells. I love the smell of Neroli and orange blossom. One of my favorite notes. So love it. Really, really love it. I think it's one of the awesome gifts from the gods, this beautiful tree that blooms these really fragrant flowers, and then they turn into fruits that we can consume. But so let's go now to the ranking of this collection. I'm giving you rankings throughout. So I would say Neroli Mediterraneo is number 1. Arancia de Sicilia is number 2. Cedro de Diamante, number 3. Mandarino de Sicilia, number 4. And of course, Bergamotto de Calabria, number 5. So that is ranking the fresh collection. Neroli Mediterraneo is so good. So good. Smells fantastic. Perfect summer fragrance, A nice combo of citrus florals, citrus leaves, and citrus fruit as well. All right, next up, going to Oud Imperial Extrait de Parfum. Unfortunately, I don't have the eau de parfum of this. I only have the Extrait de Parfum. So we have Bois de Oud in the eau de parfum, and we have Oud Imperial in the Extrait de Parfum. And Oud Imperial also comes in the eau de parfum. I just don't have it, which is the version I started using. In fact, on my old channel, I had a review of the eau de parfum, but I ended up buying the Extrait because it's a lot more potent and it's a lot more intense. It's super, super intense. It's also very powdery. And again, it's not a like a true form of oud. It's an accord, I believe. But they've thrown in some funk. And to me, it smells like antique woods with this kind of musty kind of oudy woodiness that they've created. Behind it all, there's something boozy and also patchouli-esque, but it's also very dusty, powdery, but it's also got some stickiness around it as well, like something ambery. But there's smoky touches. Of course, this is a really, really awesome scent. But to me, if you're familiar with fragrances like Private Label from Javoy, you might like this one. And again, it's more antique woody and boozy, not necessarily like authentic real oud, but it's got a funk. It's got this kind of musty oudiness, like an accord they've created to give you that kind of an effect. It's also super, super potent and a little bit animalic. So a little goes a long way, and used with caution, but definitely a really awesome one. Oud Imperial Extrait. All right. So we've got two fragrances, the eau de parfum and an extrait of one of my favorite fragrances from this house. And this is Patchouli Nosy Bay. So Patchouli Nosy Bay, I think Nosy Bay is a city somewhere. Is it in Madagascar or somewhere in the world? And I'm not 100% sure where. But patchouli coming from this region, and I think is what they're highlighting with this one. It's a really super awesome, slightly chocolatey patchouli. But for me, it's all about the extract. Because in the eau de parfum, I feel like there's a balancing act being made between all the notes. It's not just about the patchouli. You've got other things. You've got spices. There's another peppery spiciness here as well, just like the pepperiness of Cacao Aztec. You've got some pencil shaving like woods in there as well. And a slight chocolatey undertone with the patchouli. So I feel like these are kind of like playing a balancing act, as I said. They're trying to balance each other out. Nothing is overly intense. But once you graduate to the Extrait de Parfum, you've got a really chocolatey, intense take on patchouli. It is different. Whereas, remember when I did the Houbigant video, the eau de parfum versus the Extrait de Parfum were very similar. Not all of them, some of them were. Here we have changes between the EDPs and the extract. So if you like it a little bit more woody, pencil shave, I don't know why I'm getting pencil shavings. Maybe there's also a slight bit incensey smokiness, but very peppery. If you like that kind of a thing, go with this one. Because I feel like the patchouli, even though it's very noticeable, other notes are coming in to give it, some balancing of their smells between all the notes. So that's Patchouli Nosy Bay. Then we've got Patchouli Nosy Bay in the Extrait de Parfum. And this is a super thick, dense, ambery, resinous take on the patchouli. Here it does get a bit more chocolatey. For sure, it's a bit more chocolatey. But super boozy. We've got booziness here as well. And super sexy. Really, really awesome. This also feels not as dry as the first one or the EDP. Whereas the EDP, remember I said pencil shavings, like wood chips. This is more creamy. There's a smoothness about it. It's more ambery. It's more resinous. And it's also acting like chocolate cakey. So boozy chocolate cake is what I'm getting here. But I bring the chocolate cake up with a lot of patchouli fragrances. It's not to say this is gourmand. It's acting that way. So this is not gourmand. It's a lot of patchouli blended with resins and amber and balsamic notes and vanillic notes. So it creates this kind of a chocolate cakey effect. But super delicious. Super, super delicious. The Extrait de Parfum is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. That might be my third favorite Extrait de Parfum from this house. All right, the last in the white bottles that are created by... Why is this lopsided? It's not perfectly straight. That's weird. So this is the last of the Jean-Claude Ellena fragrances that are focusing on flowers from... I think these are flowers from France. I'm not 100% sure. Probably they are. Rose de Mai comes from Grasse. Lavande from the south of France. Jasmin. Yeah, I think this is focused on the south of France. But Rose de Mai, I think it's a bit boring, especially after being so in love with Rose de Taif. This one comes off a bit simplistic. And also a bit dry. Not a lot of jamminess. Also kind of green. I mean, there's a place and time for fragrances like this, but for me, it feels like I'm being robbed of a smell of rose when I'm used to the Rose de Taif, and it's so robust and intense. And here, it's almost like a diet rose kind of a thing, right? It's doing the job, but what would you rather have, Diet Coke or regular Coke? Because the regular Coke tastes so much better than the Diet Coke, but you're on a diet, you don't want the sugar, so you go with the diet one, but it doesn't really satisfy you that much. So that's the experience I'm having here with this fragrance. But I think it'll satisfy for some folks. Probably some folks that haven't tried the Rose de Taif Extrait might go directly to this. And so they might go, oh my God, that smells so amazing. I really love it. Really, really love it. And they wear it for a long time and then somehow stumble onto Rose de Taif. I'm talking about the Extrait in Rose de Taif. And they go, whoa, this is so good. Where have I been? I just discovering this fragrance kind of a thing. I don't know, that happens all the time. But there's also a peppery spiciness here, I feel like. And maybe some light woods. But this collection is quite simplistic, honestly. So how would I rank this 4 fragrances that are created by Jean-Claude Ellena? I would put the Jasmin at number 1. I would put the Lavande at number 4. Mimosa at number 2. Rose at number 3. The Lavande I don't care for at all. Ugh, I don't know why. It just doesn't work for me. The lavender, it smells like something's gone wrong with the lavender. It's off, kind of. Anyway, so let's try Rose de Taif and the Eau de Parfum. I much prefer the Extrait de Parfum. But the Eau de Parfum, once again, is not as jammy to me. No. Once again, that same idea. It's a bit like a diet. It's not acting like that full, rich, juicy, jammy kind of rose. This starts off kind of wimpy. It does eventually become a bit more substantial. But I think for me, the Rose de Taif Extrait is where it's at. It's one of my all-time favorite rose fragrances. But it's more about the rose, whereas Portrait of a Lady from Frederic Malle is a rose fragrance. But to me, that's not just about the rose. Here, Rose de Taif is about rose. It's a rose bomb. Yeah, this eventually dries down to become like Rose de Taif. But still, it's a bit flat next to the real extract. The real extract is so superb. And I know so many people that wear it and this swear by it. But anyway, Rose de Taif Extrait, definitely one of my favorite rose fragrances out there, but more authentic rose, real rose, not about other things, but just about rose. But this does have other things happening. So good. There might even be something patchouli-esque in the base. There's some citruses like lemony notes in here as well. And it's not only just the rose, the Taif or the Taif rose. There's other rose note in here as well. So it's a really, really intense, in-your-face rose fragrance. Really wonderful rose. I mean, I was going to say something a bit negative about the extracts versus the Eau de Parfums. There's no need for you to go back to the Eau de Parfums if you're happy with the extracts of these fragrances. A lot of you like intense fragrances. And if you are just discovering this line, if you're like me, go right to the Extrait de Parfums. Don't go with the Eau de Parfums unless you like the fragrances to be lighter. I personally think the concentration of the extract is a lot more enjoyable for me. And I personally went right to the extracts before the eau de parfums, except for the Oud Imperial, because remember I mentioned I had a review of the Oud Imperial on my old channel in the eau de parfum concentration, but when I sampled the extract, I was like, whoa, this is so much better. So if you are like me and you like Extrait de Parfum, super potent fragrances, why bother going with the eau de parfums? Skip the eau de parfums and go right to the Extrait de Parfums. But if you're thinking those might be too heavy, then I think you should try the eau de parfums. But again, I think this is definitely one of the best rose fragrances out there. Hands down, superb rose fragrance. If you like Un Rose, which is now called Rose Tonnerre by Frederic Malle, it's that kind of rose fragrance. You know, you put the rose on a pedestal and everything else is below it, beneath it, because, you know, you're paying tribute to this gorgeous flower with this most amazing smell. And it's an awesome creation. Probably, I don't know if it's the biggest seller from this house. I can't tell. But definitely for me, it's one of the best. All right, so next we've got Santal du Pacifique in the eau de parfum. Here we go, one of the best sandalwood fragrances, but once again, for me, it's all about the Extrait de Parfum. What I like about, well, actually, I should take that back. Both of the eau de parfum and the Extrait of Santal du Pacifique are great. But once again, this sandalwood is on the creamy side, but also it has a little bit of a pencil shaving effect. Because I really like my sandalwoods to be like that creamy kind of a milky variety of sandalwood. You get that here. And you also get a little bit of that shavings, wood shavings, dustings of sandalwood as well. You've got a combo of both. And with this one, both eau de parfum and extrait are great. The eau de parfum is a lot lighter than the extrait. You'll notice the denseness, but to me, they smell very, very close. So I think it's a balancing, like, do I want something that heavy or can I be happy with the eau de parfum? So for me, the eau de parfum of Santal du Pacifique is satisfactory. I don't have to have the extrait, but I do have both. And I love the extrait, and I also really enjoy the eau de parfum as well. Sometimes you want it lighter, but again, I prefer more concentrated fragrances, more intense fragrances. But here, both the eau de parfum and also the extrait de parfum are great. So that is Santal du Pacifique in the eau de parfum. And now we've got the extrait de parfum. And of course, the extrait de parfum is so super thick and dense and super creamy as well. It's really kind of on the lactonic, milky, creamy side. The other thing also, which is noticeable, oh God, it's so good. So, so good. Super smooth, really, really awesome stuff. The thing also sometimes you notice, sometimes eau de parfums do have a bit more of projection and reach, and sometimes the extracts are closer to the skin. Not all the time, but usually, typically, that's the case. But in this case, it does act a bit more subdued than the eau de parfum, but while the fragrance is developing, you will notice that it's developing into this really thick, dense, creamy, milky, woody fragrance. To me, it's very simplistic. It's basically paying tribute to the sandalwood. And if you like sandalwood and you like simplistic, woody fragrances that are on the big, dense, heavy side, I highly recommend you try both of these. Both of them are satisfactory here. Whereas with Patchouli Nosy Bay and the Rose de Taif, I much prefer the extracts. Here with the Santal du Pacifique, both of them are really awesome. Anyway, so that is Santal du Pacifique. We have 3 more fragrances left. Now I'm going to talk about my latest crush from this house. First in the eau de parfum, then with the one I really love, the extrait de parfum. Talking about Vanille de Tahiti. Have you guys discovered this fragrance yet? Does it come off animalic to you? Let me know. So good. This is actually really good in the eau de parfum as well. But you can totally notice it's a different kind of fragrance, even though keeping the kind of the DNA, the fragrance. So I'm happy with the eau de parfum here as well. I much prefer the extract, but it's not so different. It's just acting thinner. And it's a bit boozier here as well. I think the extract is also boozy, but this might not be as animalic as the extract. But still, for me, I'm not getting animalic qualities much from the fragrance itself. To me, it's spicy, it's creamy, because a lot of white floral notes like magnolia and champaca, and I think there's also ylang ylang here. But the vanilla is so super delicious. And it's boozy and spicy as well. Remember, vanilla, raw vanilla is leathery and spicy. But what they've done to this is so super amazing. So super amazing. I do have to pause the video and pull out another fragrance to talk to you guys about. All right, I'll talk to you guys about this other fragrance once we talk about the extract of Vanille de Tahiti. But, okay, I can see now it's getting a little poopy here. Something comes off a little daring. Yeah, it's in the eau de parfum as well. But let me know if you guys get the animalic qualities from this fragrance. It's so good, though. So delicious. Let's talk a little bit about the Extrait, Vanille de Tahiti, and I'll pull out the other fragrance. So I first discovered the extract of this. Oh, it's so good. To me, the magnolia is so in your face here in comparison to the eau de parfum. And I've mentioned magnolias have a very kind of a lemony, white, floral, creamy smell. And I get it here. There's a tartness about the flowers, contrasted with the boozy kind of syrupy vanilla that's in here. But I think I'm understanding what might be coming off a bit poopy. And I think it's the flowers. The flowers might have something indolic in them that's kind of giving it an animalic quality. Or maybe it's the rawness of the vanilla. But something in here does come off that way. And for me, I never realized it would come off poopy. I thought it was a great combo of all of the notes combined together. But it's still an amazing, amazing fragrance. Really wonderfully done. It's not usual vanilla. It's like a lot of vanilla for sure. It's boozy. It's creamy. It's syrupy. It's molassesy, but sticky sweet as well. Mixed in with the freshness of the flowers, and you've got that champaca, you've got the magnolia, and I believe there's ylang ylang in there as well. It's a great combination. Super intoxicating, super delicious, and I guess a bit animalic as well. So that is Vanille de Tahiti. But let me tell you something. I actually discovered a really awesome fragrance from the house of Santa Maria Novella. Let me show you the box. So it's a fragrance focused on magnolia. As you can see, it says magnolia right here. Really beautiful presentation, kind of like a book. So inside you've got a beautiful, gorgeous picture of the magnolia. It's one of my favorite flowers. The only thing I don't like about the flower is it attracts rats. And if the tree is big enough, you can see them running around in there, which grosses me out. But so they got a really awesome fragrance about magnolia. And the magnolia in this fragrance reminds me of the magnolia in Vanille de Tahiti, in the eau de parfum, and then of course in the extract. So if you are a fan of magnolia and you really love the smell of this fragrance and you like the magnolia in the Vanille de Tahiti, try this. See if you get similarities. There's no vanilla here. It's all about the magnolia with other flowers. It's gorgeous though. It's very fresh. And here you've got a little bit of fruitiness as well. So not the same brand, obviously. This is Santa Maria Novella, based out of Florence. So if you ever have been to Florence, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't gone to the store, to their pharmacy, definitely make sure to go the next time you go. If you're planning to go to Florence, visit for sure. It's a really awesome space. You can get some of their fragrances as well. And the magnolia in that is so awesome, and it reminds me of the magnolia in Vanille de Tahiti. So I wanted to highlight that. But they are not the same brands, by the way. So we are finishing talking about Vanille de Tahiti, both concentrations, EDP and extract. Let me know if you've discovered that fragrance. Add a comment below. And the last fragrance we're going to talk about here from Perris Monte Carlo is Vetiver Java. Now, I wanted to get their newer fragrance that came out in a bottle like this called Balsamir. I sampled it at Javoy back in July. I didn't react that positively to it, but maybe I was just doing it in passing quickly. I want to circle back to it, but also a lot of times I'm reacting more positively to their extracts over the eau de parfums. But we've got some great Santal du Pacifique and Vanille de Tahiti in eau de parfums are really great. So Vetiver Java is a really awesome vetiver fragrance, really nicely done, very smoky, grassy, earthy, for sure, a bit green, and overdose with woods. But behind it all, there is a creamy layer about it. It's a smooth layer about it. Lightly citrusy as well, but it's acting like an extract, even though this is not an extract, it's an eau de parfum. Super potent, but again, to me, it smells like a lot of other vetiver fragrances. And vetiver fragrances can get boring because if it's just vetiver all the time. I've smelled vetiver, so many different vetiver fragrances. I wish this had a little bit something else in it to make me really pull for it. But the fact that it smells really good, don't get me wrong. I really think it's a nicely done vetiver. But there's a lot of vetiver fragrances like this, and it doesn't make me want to wear it. But when I move on from what I just said, I think it's a really nicely executed vetiver fragrance. And if it's the first time you're discovering vetiver, this might, this might make you react so, positively to it because you smell something and you get how rich it is, how dense it is, how great it is, how earthy it is. It's got a bit of a dampness about it too, which is typically associated with vetiver, because there's it's almost like rooty, like beneath the earth kind of a dampness in here. But it's nicely done. It's just I'm kind of bored of vetiver. That's all I could say about that. But I highly recommend you check it out if you're not bored of vetiver, because it's really, really nicely executed vetiver fragrance. Okay, so here we go. Let's see. I've already given you a ranking of the citruses and also the white bottle floral or maybe south of France focused fragrances. But honestly, to me, the three fragrances, maybe the four, I think these are them. What is that? For me, top four: Vanille de Tahiti, Rose de Taif, Patchouli, Nosy, Santal du Pacifique. Maybe one more, not CACAO Aztec. And then I would actually put Musk Extreme at number 5 for an overall ranking of this list. There's a lot of wobbly things here. So that's my ranking if I was to rank the entire collection. But I gave you my ranking of the citruses. I gave you my ranking of these fragrances. But let's see, what's this? Bois de Oud. No, Bois de Oud is not high on my list. I think that's correct. So Vanille de Tahiti in extract, awesome. Rose de Taif in the extract. Patchouli, Nosy in the extract. Santal du Pacifique in the extract. And then Musk Extreme. So that's the top 5. But let me know your thoughts on these fragrances. Perris Monte Carlo, Sister House to Houbigant. Have you discovered the line? Are you curious to discover them? If you haven't tried any of their fragrances, which fragrances sound the best to you? Do let me know. Add a comment below. And if you have a favorite and I did not discuss it, what is it? Do let me know so I can find out. But appreciate you tuning in, guys. This video will be added to a playlist of all of the deep dive videos. If you want to watch them back to back, I have it linked in the info box. Lastly, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Click that bell icon as well and make sure to give a thumbs up for this video, and see you next time with another video. Bye-bye.